last week at the end of the episode, I said the Buffalo Bills will, if at the very minimum, will stabilize like the mean of their performance. And what I mean by that is that I think that last offseason what they did was like, all right, we gotta like keep ourselves together, put the same players back on this team, keep that same level of performance. In a way, and then fast forward to what I said last week, I said that the Bills would do something similar, but with the more urgency to get better in multiple areas of need. Now, I did not think that they were going to go out and sign Von Miller, and that's exactly where we're going to start, right? So, man, Monday comes around, and if you're anything like me, you probably thought, oh, well, I know one Buffalo Bill that's going to come here, and it's going to be Chandler Jones. Doesn't happen. Chandler Jones sits out there for a day or two, just like Von Miller, and then he goes to the Raiders. And you're thinking to yourself, oh man, we suck. Like what? What? We didn't get Chandler Jones. He's from Rochester. It would have been a great fit. He played in Syracuse. Well, that didn't happen. A couple hours later, being after dark, and you just see this bombshell of a deal. 6 years, $120 million for Von freaking Miller. Von Miller is a Buffalo Bill. I don't know how you can't be excited about this. If you're not excited about this, like, what's your reason? Really? Is it because he's 32? Going to be 33 or 33 sometime this week, I think. I think me and him actually share a similar birthday, so I got to look that up. But are you worried about his age? Are you worried about the money? Because it's really not a 6-year, $120 million deal. All these deals that get leaked out right now, the agents, to my understanding, boast the highest contract numbers for each deal to make it look like, oh, look what I got for my player, or ooh, look at this, I could do that for you. Like they want to exacerbate the numbers to make it look a lot more lucrative than it really is. So let's pump the brakes on that, because it's really more like a 3-year, $53 million deal, if memory serves me correct, which is about $17.5 million a year. So very digestible. Now, that's not to say the Bills didn't have to make some moves, right? We had to restructure. What would we have to do? We had to restructure Micah Hyde, Mitch Morse. We cut ties with Cole Beasley, Starlet Tulele. We restructured Matt Milano too. There was a lot of moves that actually happened in order to bring in this guy. And I got to tell you right now, all 100% worth it. Think about all these players that we really restructured and put their longevity in a safer spot here on the Bills. You don't restructure players that you don't want on your team, right? You don't do it for players that you just are like meh about. Like, for example, if we could bring in Von Miller, but we had to basically kick the can down the road for someone, let's say Darrell Williams, I would have been pretty upset if we restructured and just kept Darrell Williams around. Like that just wouldn't have made sense to me, because it's clear that the Bills were not that high on Darrell Williams after this past season, and ultimately they cut ties with him because they brought in a way better guard in Roger Saffold. And I know I'm going on a rant here, but what the Bills did was very practical and calculated, right? They said, okay, if we got to restructure some players, let's make it be the right players. So let's keep Micah Hyde here, because we know we love him. I thought Jordan Poyer was going to be restructured too, but, maybe they were like, hey, we only need to do one of these guys. Let's just do Micah, because he usually plays higher up and probably less injury prone, and he's smart. That's my guess. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong, but who knows? You restructure Mitch Morse and extend him. That's sweet because Mitch Morse has been super, super good with very low talent to the left or right of him, and he's still able to deliver. So really good restructure and re-signing there. And then all the other moves, right? Just to bring in Von Miller. Like, I woke up the next morning and I still couldn't believe that we had Von Miller. And I watched his press conference. This man was super, super candid. He said it was so hard to choose the Rams over the Bills, and only something special truly would have made him leave the Rams for the Bills. He made a joke like, who leaves LA for Buffalo? And everyone laughed because like that in itself, that statement sounds funny, right? Like who leaves sunny LA for wishy-washy weather Western New York? And don't get me wrong, I love Western New York. I've lived here basically my entire life, and I couldn't be more happier with that. And but getting back to the point is that Von Miller said it had to be something special. That something special was Josh Allen. The culture that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have been building here. That locker room. Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, and other players reached out to Von and said, like, hey, get it? Like, the locker room's great. You should come here, check it out. And one thing I really appreciate outside of Von Miller's accolades, right? Because we know what kind of player this is. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't need to talk about his production. He's really, really, really good. Really good. And what else does he bring? The intangibles, that mentorship that he can give to the other defensive ends in the room. And he can help out. He can help out guys like Ed Oliver on the interior and other signings that we had, like Tim Settle and, Jordan Phillips. He's back. Shaq Lawson. Oh my God, the list is just going on. Rousseau, Boogie Basham. Like, this defensive line is looking legit. That is what we've been missing, Bills Mafia. And Brandon Beane really just said, we're going to go out and get this guy. One thing I mentioned, one thing I really appreciated from Brandon Beane, and this was really important to me, and I suspect that it was really important to Von too, because right when he landed, he didn't sign the contract right away. And after seeing the McKissick bailout thing, and we'll get to him in a minute, you're kind of thinking there to yourself, like, oh my God, is he going to sign? And then, what's his name? Zadarius Smith. He ends up backing out of his contract after agreeing to terms with the Ravens. And, the Bills, if you're part of Bills Mafia, you're holding your breath. You're like, oh my God, is Von Miller going to sign this contract? Like, I personally was just sitting there, just, refreshing my Twitter feed, all social media posts. Like, I gotta, until I see him hold that jersey up, smile, like, I'm not really sure if he's going to sign, because we've been burned in the past. And he's a high interest free agent player. So other players were trying to pry him away from us. And most importantly, Matt Judon tried getting him, but obviously we know that wasn't going to happen. Like, come on, get out of here. Get out of here, Matt Judon. But what I appreciate about Brandon Beane is that when he landed, he didn't force him to sign that contract right away. He was like, hey, go around, meet everyone, meet the players, get a good feel for the city, what we're doing here. This is our vision. Really just take it all in. Set it out. Like, really just feel it out. When you're ready, come back to us and we can talk. We can talk about the contract in further detail. Like, the deal's already been done, but Von, he's basically saying for the next 3 to 6 years, this is where I'll be. And it was really refreshing, for me at least, to see that that Brandon Beane was not so pushy, or like on Von to like sign this contract. He was like, take your time, check it out, come back to us. I think Von really appreciated that, and eventually, we know the rest of the story. He signs the contract. He tells everyone like it's really hard to choose a new destination, but it's best for who I want and what I want to do with the rest of my professional career if I come to a place like Buffalo over the LA Rams. And that is saying something. It really is. Let's talk about some of these other free agent signings. I'm not going to take too much time more because none of them are going to be quite the caliber as Von Miller, but that's not to say they're not important. Let's talk about our guy OJ Howard, the second OJ to come to Buffalo. And so I had to make that joke, but OJ Howard, a very, very good tight end too. This man was made in a lab. And he has the pedigree of being a first round draft pick by the Buccaneers. And it's just kind of weird because like injuries and just a stacked tight end room kind of kept him from playing on the field. And then who gets there in Tampa? Tom Brady. Who shows up? Gronkowski. OJ, like, where did the snaps go? Not to OJ Howard, because they already have two other guys in front of him. I think Cameron Brate maybe is his name. I'm not a Bucs fan. Sorry. I'm not. But I do know that he was tight end 3. So he never really got a chance to get out there. But he shakes loose this offseason. He comes to Buffalo on what deal? 1 year. $3.5 million, I believe. 4. Or it's something really cheap. It's something really cheap. I might have the numbers wrong here, but regardless, the deal itself compared to what other tight ends were getting, like Evan Ingram, I'm pretty sure got like $9 million for 1 year to go to Jacksonville. I'm good on that. The Bills don't have the cap space to do that. And all last season, you saw that if it wasn't Dawson Knox, the Bills pretty much said, hey, Tommy Sweeney, you're just going to be a healthy scratch. Like, we can't sacrifice a game day spot for you because you don't bring enough to the table. Now the Bills don't have to do that because they have a good athletic tight end in OJ Howard. I couldn't be more happier for the guy, too. This is a great opportunity, much like the Mitch Trubisky thing. Like, hey, come back here, reinvent yourself. Good chance you'll get out there again and be able to catch a bigger contract next year in the next offseason cycle. So good for OJ Howard. Seriously, I'm very happy.